Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul Perdue, and I am a nerd. And today, we're going to get the month right this time, Mary Jo. It is the February 2011 virtual user group meeting that we affectionately call the water cooler. And today, you're looking at Chicago like a lot of times we do, but we're going to do something funny, and we're going to jump over here to a virtual desktop. And on this virtual desktop, we are going to look at version 16, and we're going to look at the absolute latest version of it, and I think I have just caused a little bit of funkiness here. There we go. Now we are looking at it. Okay, good. Now, this is the Matter Manager, and it is what I am going to talk about today, and it is what we... Say again? Oh, I will. It is what we're going to talk about first, and it is the reason we're on this special machine. It's the reason we're late. It's the reason Mary Jo is yelling at me over here. The Matter Manager was released a couple days ago, and so we have to be on this special machine to talk about it. Before I go any further, though, I do want to do what Mary Jo says I should do, because Mary Jo always gets her way. We're going to talk about how to participate in this and what this little screen means to control your experience. You have on the left or on the right-hand side of your screen either something that looks like this, or maybe it looks just like this part of it. If it's out like this and you can see this part of it, then it is expanded. And this button at the top of the little box that juts off to the left will close this up. We'll get this out of the way. We'll make it so that you can see what's behind it, because what's behind it may be part of the screen that you want to look at on my computer. Once you compress this, this little button will turn into arrows that point to the left, and that will mean that clicking it again will bring this out so that you can again see this box here. And in a minute we'll tell you why you'd want to do that. You have two ways to participate. You can raise your hand if you feel like talking, if you feel unshy, if you want to ask a question live. You can click this little button that looks like a hand with an up arrow in front of it. That means raise your hand. Leanne will see that you've raised your hand. She will tell us that you've raised your hand. She will unmute you, and you will be able to ask your question. We'll make sure that you get it answered. We'll let you ask any follow-up questions, and then Leanne will mute you again so that you can continue eating Doritos, Fritos, Frito-Lays, whatever it is that you're eating, you can do once we've muted you again. Now, one thing that we want people to do is make sure that when they raise their hand that they don't have a whole bunch of background noise, because that's going to come through and disrupt things. Now, if you're not feeling bold and you're feeling a little bit shy, instead you can just expose this bigger box by using this icon here to click and get it into view, and you can type your questions right here. Leanne will see that. I have a question. Is it a question on how to ask a question? Is it from William Perdue? Is he asking if Baron Henley is going to be here? Yeah, that's my brother Bill. Hi, Bill. Bill likes to ask when Baron Henley will be here because Baron Henley is my nemesis, my arch enemy. So Bill's asked a question, and he did it by typing it here. Leanne saw it. She made us aware of it, and now we've answered Bill's question. Baron Henley will never be here. We're going to minimize this. Mary Jo is going to talk about some new accounting-related features in Tabs that specifically as they relate to the client funds feature. So she'll talk about that in a minute or two. I'm going to tell you about the Matter Manager. Now, when people come into PracticeMaster, they most typically are going here. And this is where you are used to seeing details, calendar, notes, which is your journal items. Your emails can be in here as journal items also. Fees and costs can appear here. We have files in our system for people, incidents and opportunity. For instance, if I go to, hopefully Joe's here, if we go to Joe Jerome's record, we'll see that under people we have him and Kathy, I believe. This is a file that we added. So is incidents, so is opportunity. These are files that we've added to PracticeMaster. Of course, you're familiar with fee and cost, notes and email. Some of you people may be used to seeing these as journal instead of a separate tab for notes and email. Some of you also may see research records. calendar details. You may have other tabs that show up depending on how your system's set up. And then, of course, list takes you over here to where you can select a different client. And once you've done that, you can go back to these tabs. Well, one of the problems with that is that it's a lot of jumping around. First off, you have to understand the relationship between the list tab and the rest of the tabs. The list tab gets you to someone. The rest of the tabs show you information about that someone or about that specific matter. Another problem with it is it doesn't really combine things. You have to kind of jump around from notes to emails to research records to fees to costs to other things in order to see records that appear in here. Some people are very, very used to this. It's how you've used PracticeMaster in the past. Another big challenge that people have faced in using PracticeMaster, particularly if they use Tabs3 also, is to be able to see information that's relevant to them as case managers, as practice-oriented people, as attorneys, paralegals, legal assistants. That still comes from the billing system. How much does this person owe us? How far behind are they? What was their last bill for? Right now, in version 15.3 and even in the version 16 beta that we had a week ago, you didn't have a place to go in PracticeMaster to see that. Now you do. So with that said, I'm going to minimize this window. I'm going to go back to the Matter Manager, and this is the new Matter Manager. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull up ACS, which is Attorney Computer Systems, and I do that right here. Now these particular records aren't very exciting, so I'm actually going to pull up somebody else. Well, let's go look at Joe Jerome. He won't mind. We're going to pull up Joe Jerome, Jerome and Associates. And what you see here is a combination of fee records, cost records, journal records, emails, research records, notes, timer records, anything that is a record that relates to this particular matter. If I drop this box down here, I can zero in. I can say, show me just people. And there's Kathy and Joe. I can say, show me just a billing summary. We'll come back to that in a second. Show me just the calendar items, kind of like the different tabs that you had. But this one back here, all activity, pulls them all together. And that's huge because right now, up until right now, you've had to jump all over the place to see that. So Joe just, for instance, decided that he was going to put in general ledger and accounts payable. So we see the cost records that will create the entries on the bill to bill for that. We see the shipping charge, we see the two maintenance records, right where we also see an email to Joe saying, hey, here's a prepay invoice, send me money and I'll send you software. Here's a record where I talked to Joe. Here's a record where Kathy didn't attend last month's water cooler, but she got it emailed to her. So all of these things are being brought together into one screen. Very, very cool. With that, you also have the ability to launch document assembly, the timer window, go straight into tabs, and go into the report writer from here. Now, another thing that we've had a lack of, I guess I should say, is the ability to see billing information. Now, Joe happens to have a credit balance because we just entered his payment for the software that he bought and haven't actually processed that. I'm going to go back to Attorney Computer Systems and pull up there. And here we show that Attorney Computer Systems owes a past due balance, or a previous balance, if you will, of $875. They have work in process fees of $625, no cost. A current balance, therefore, of this much. Primary timekeeper is Paul. Billing category is test category. We're real original with our test data. We have no payments to date. The last statement number was 3057, and the aged accounts receivable shows that the 875 falls in a current category, and there's no trust account activity. So there you have, in a very concise view, about all the billing information that we thought, or that I should say that STI thought, a matter-oriented person, an attorney, a paralegal, a legal assistant would want to see. You've got Paul Perdue on the phone. He asks how much he owes. You can come right here and say, well, we billed you $875 so far, and we've also got $625 in stuff to bill that hasn't gone out yet. and know that right away without having to fumble through whole bunches of different information. Having to go to tabs, look at ledger activity, look at the client manager there. A couple other things. I'm really just trying to touch on these so you can get a flavor for what the billing, the matter manager does in PracticeMaster. I've got to keep reminding myself I'm not training, I'm just showing. We also show all the contacts. So we have Attorney Computer Systems as an organization record. You may remember from a couple water coolers ago we talked about the new contact management and the fact that we have organization records and individual records, and the fact that those records are tied to people from the contact. Each matter has a client contact, each matter has a matter contact. This points back to those records, and as you highlight one, we'll bring up a little card that, kind of like a business card, you even would show the picture if you were using that feature, that has clickable links for the phone numbers, so that if you're using a phone system that's tied into PracticeMaster, you can just click it and it will dial the phone. Or if you want to send an email, you can click that and it will send the email. I'm going to pause for a second and get a question. Is it? Okay, Sharon's asking. Will we be able to see invoices sent to clients? No. This billing summary, this matter manager-based view of the billing summary just shows this information here. Now, Mary Jo's, yes, thank you. Leanne conveyed to me that Sharon asked, will we be able to see invoices, specific detail on the invoices that have been sent to the client? No, we will not. This is meant to be a kind of an at-a-glance view. Now, we do have the link here to the Tabs3 client manager, and then that would be able to show you ledger information, generate statements, do any of the things that you've set up the client manager in Tabs3 to do, and then when you go back, you'd be right back where you were in PracticeMaster. So this billing summary in PracticeMaster is meant to be a quick view of the information that would be most prevalent, most needed by a caseworker, by an attorney, a paralegal, a legal assistant, with this providing a link to more detailed information. And Ann Hone has a question. She's got her hand raised, so Ann, stop chewing your potato chips. Are we unmuted? Yeah, that's right, it's not. Hold on a second. Ann, we'll get to you. Here we come. Okay, Ann, you're unmuted.
Okay. My question is, I am the only user for Tabs, but we have, 13, 15 users for PracticeMaster.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Is it a single user copy of Tabs?
Correct.
Okay.
So
well, this button here, won't do very much good for people then, because it's going to take them to something where it's going to tell them that they can't currently access it because Ann's in there. Now I think you'll have to bear with me because I don't really know. This is very, very new to us also. I think that if you don't have rights to the client manager, if the user in PracticeMaster is part of a group that is not allowing them to have rights to the matter manager and Tabs, this icon will not appear. So
well, that was my question. If you're a single Tabs user, will the PracticeMaster people be able to go into the Tabs information?
They will not. Well, they would if they happened to be the first person in there and you weren't in there yet and nobody else had gone in there and stayed in there. Then yes, it would. But
okay.
But the matter manager, this view, this billing summary within PracticeMaster would still show.
Still show.
So
okay.
What won't show is if they want to go to the Tabs3 client manager. But this here, this stuff here that's coming up in PracticeMaster in the matter manager, that would still show.
Oh, okay. Great.
That make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We're going to mute you back up then, Mary Jo. Bill asked, what did he ask?
The summary only shows details for one matter. Is there a way to show data for all the client matters?
There is not. The question is, The summary shows detail for one matter. A client may have multiple matters. Is there a way to see all the detail for all the matters? No, not here. This is designed to show you on a matter-by-matter basis what the specific detail is. So answer to that is no. Any more questions? Okay. You do have a couple things missing that we as resellers have already, and as some of the beta users have pointed out to STI. If you're using World Docs, you are used in the other view, this client view over here, to having a Display World Docs Documents button that shows up over here. You do not have that yet at this time in the Matter Manager. It's already been conveyed to STI. We've already heard back from Matthew, who's in the quality, actually in the product development team, that they are going to be adding that as soon as they can. We think that's very important. One of the things that really ties everything together for firms that are using World Docs is the ability to, from a view like this, be able to go into all the World Docs documents. That is a quick, very tertiary view of the Matter Manager and PracticeMaster. We will, I'm sure, undoubtedly be talking a little bit more about this as time progresses. That's all I'm going to talk about for today. If we don't have any more questions, I'm going to switch over to Mary Jo, who I will give keyboard and mouse to, and she will talk about some client funds features.
Okay, hi everybody. Before I get into client funds, I do want to show you some new features that are in our payment adjustment screen, because a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today in client funds will not apply to you if you are using trust accounting. So if you have trust accounting, you don't use client funds. If you have no trust accounting module, then you are using client funds, and what I'll have to say is, more pertinent to you. So what I want to do first is, we've talked a few times about how to properly adjust payments in tabs, and I'm going to go over to tabs. As soon as Paul lets go of his mouse here, he always yells at me for having the mouse. So when you adjust a payment, you can only adjust a payment through the payment adjustment feature after you've billed the payment. It's got to have been included on a statement. So once it's been included on a statement, then this feature up here under maintenance and then transaction related payment adjustment is available. There's two ways that you can adjust a payment. You can either reverse the payment. You need to get it out of there. You have an NSF check or something like that. You need to reverse the payment and take it out of tabs. Or you're refunding an overpayment to the client. Before, in the past, you only had a few options of what you could do. You either checked reverse, and then you could either make the journal entries or not, or you could refund and make the journal entries or not. And there really wasn't anything else you could do with that payment. But now, I'm going to go into our Scooby-Doo client here, and I've got a payment in here that I want to reverse. So I'm going to go find my payments, and they'll only show up here, like I said, if you've already included them on a statement. So I've got this $1,000 payment that I want to go ahead and refund. Now I can either reverse here, or I can refund part of this amount if I want to just say, well, 500 of this is going back to the client, but 500 is going to be applied to a future bill. I can do that. But if I wanted to reverse, I can come in here and say OK, and it's going to ask me if I'm sure I want to adjust the payment. But then I've got some more choices here now. Now we can say, are we going to write a check for the reversal, yes or no? And this is going to take care of those journal entries. So if we were writing a check, we would say yes, and when we write our AP check, that will create the journal entries to reverse the payment. But if I say no, that's going to go ahead and say, well, we need to make the journal entries now because you're not writing a check later. So it takes out that confusing question, do you want to make journal entries and you don't know whether you do or not. You just say yes or no, are you writing a check or not? And then down here, we can say, what additional action would you like to take? You can either do nothing, just go ahead and record the reversal. We're reversing everything and just, it's done. Or you can create a payment for a client, or you can deposit the reversal amount into the client funds for that client. So you can actually, in creating a payment for another client, you can transfer that payment to a different client matter. So those are options that we did not have before. That's brand new in 16 that I think a lot of people, when you reverse payments, you know what a headache this can be. We'll give you a lot more choices here of what to do with that overpayment. So I wanted to show you that real quick. And you do have that deposit the reversal into client funds if you're using it, and before you couldn't do that. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about some new features in client funds. But just keep in mind that is here to go ahead and transfer it right from the payment adjustment screen.
I sure hope Betsy from Lewis Wagner is listening to this. She's probably running up and down the hall right now.
Okay, so now we're going to go into client funds, and I'm going to tell you a couple of new features that we have here. The first thing, and I'm not really going to show it to you, but I'm going to tell you that it's available, is now we have credit card integration for client funds. Before, if you're familiar, in version 15, we came out with credit card integration through Tabs for just all your regular payments, and then in a later version of 15, we came out with trust account credit card integration, and now we've got client funds integration with credit cards. So that's available in version 16. The other thing I want to show you in 16, in client funds, there's a few more options for the different types of payments that you do. When you do a payment to the firm, you now have the ability to say that it's for a WIP payment or it's for an AR payment. By saying apply to fee, expense, or advance, or all, you're saying that it's for the AR balance, or if you choose WIP payment, it's for WIP. Prior to version 16, you had to do a payment to firm, and it was always WIP. You didn't really have a choice to apply to AR balances unless you did a withdrawal. So now you've got that extra option there to choose what you want here. One of the other added features that is pretty cool, I think, is when you go into our integration screen now, we now have the ability to go ahead and set up integration with our general ledger for client funds. When we go to the integration tab, when we had our GLS integration for when your payments come in, we always had our payment entries and cost entries going to our fee accounts and unapplied. We now have this button here, client funds transactions, client configure funds integration. And you've got a couple of choices here. It's just one single screen, but you have the ability to do it either as a single debit and credit, or you can come in by category, location, primary, secondary, or originating timekeeper, and then you also have the ability to do a secondary account here. So if we go ahead and say primary timekeeper, then we can also come in and do it by location or category, and actually go ahead and post our client funds directly to our GL proper accounts that we want. So again, that's huge. Once we get in here, you can just go ahead and click on your GLS account, and then you can tell it, where do you want, what accounts do you want that to go into in your GL. So that's what's new on the client funds area. I don't know, category, side, whatever we're going to call it here. Front. There we go. The client funds front. So that's all I have, Paul. Is there any questions?
Questions, Diane? No more questions. Don't save that, or I'll have to hurt you.
Get this out of here.
We were very excited about the client funds integration because, as some of you know, we offer the ability to do prepaid minutes, and what that means is people send us money ahead of time, and they get a lower rate, and we work against that money that they've sent us. Well, in the past, that's always been a credit balance on a client statement. Very, very difficult to manage, very cumbersome. Creates those unallocated GL entries. Now we put that money into client funds. It goes right into our bank account because of this new GL integration. It goes into a special liability account that monitors the liability that we have in owing these people these services because they prepaid for them. Didn't have that before, and it was significant to us when we got it, and I'm sure it will be significant to a lot of others. One thing I'd like to point out that is always a big question, and we finally found a way to really explain it and make it work, is that we have client funds and tabs, and we have trust accounting. And people have always had trouble distinguishing between those two, and we've got some clarification on that. Client funds was really originally written and meant to be for firms that are accepting payments of what we would call non-refundable deposits. Trust accounting has always been meant for money that you are holding in trust for people, but you are not putting it into your operating accounts. If you take a $5,000 payment for a divorce matter and you're going to charge that $5,000 no matter what you do for that client. That's what we call a non-refundable deposit. That goes in client funds. And the distinction is that goes into your bank account right away. That's why this new integration is so significant, because now when you make that client funds deposit, it goes right into your bank account without anything else having to happen. Trust accounting is meant instead for taking that $5,000 and working against it and not making payments to the firm that transfer to the trust account, or from the trust account to the operating account, until you've earned the money. So that's what the distinction is, very important distinction, and that's why this new client funds accounting is so significant. Now, Leanne has a question from Robert Neese.
How about billing via email?
Billing via email. I'm just going to say yes, and I'm going to point you, Robert, toward a recorded version of prior water cooler. I believe it was 2 months ago, where we talked specifically about that new feature. Robert, if you and anyone else who wants this link will email paul.purdue@attorneycomputersystems.com. We do have people working around the clock to try and come up with longer email addresses, but for now that's all we have. Paul.Purdue, like the school, not the chicken, P-U-R-D-U-E, @attorneycomputersystems.com. If you will email me and let me know that you'd like a link to that other water cooler session, I will be sure to get that to you. By the way, we have given, what is this, Mary Jo, the third or the fourth? I believe it's the third one that we've devoted specifically toward version 16 features. Version 16 is not out yet. It is anticipated that it will be released in the next couple weeks. When it is, people that are on maintenance will have it rolled out slowly to them. STI does not want to overwhelm their support department, and so therefore they are not going to send it out to everybody all at once. So look for it, be expecting it, anticipate it, and if you have an urgent need for it, let us know and we can see about trying to get it to you as soon as possible. So again, we've had 3 of these. We've talked about different features at each of the 3 that we've done. I believe it was the first one that we talked about emailing statements. So I see from my Android phone that Robert has already sent me an email requesting that, so we'll get that right out to him. No more questions? No more lawyer jokes? Okay. That is it. This is the end of the February 2011 water cooler. Everybody go back to work, and we will see you next month. Thanks much.